Hi everyone, April Cox here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the financials. How much does it cost to create your children's picture book? I'm going to go through a budget spreadsheet that I pulled together. It's not necessarily all inclusive. You may find that there are other things outside of this, but it will give you a good sense for what it is that you should budget for and give you an opportunity to use a budget spreadsheet. So without further ado, let's get started. Every line item that I could think of, I put in here, and I also went over and added a little commentary for you. And in these columns here, there's always a range, low, middle, high range for some of the activities, things like illustrations, editing. So if there's a range, I put that range here. If something doesn't apply, then just unclick the select. For example, if you are an author illustrator and say this doesn't apply to you, and you delete it, and you delete other things that maybe don't apply, then you can just filter by the ones that do have X's. I would also recommend that you add a column for your project, your book. And as you go through this, you actually put the cost. For the planning perspective, let's talk about professional editing first. It is not optional. It's required for a high quality book, and we all are creating high quality books. The one that I always select is at the 300 level. I know what I'm getting, which is multiple different types of editing. On the high end, it might be as much as 600. You want to make sure you're getting really professional edit from somebody who is doing more than just line editing. So just make sure you know what you're getting. Also, with regard to illustrations, on the low end, I put $45 a page, and the normal number of pages in a children's book is 28 illustrated pages. That would be for a typical 32-page book. So I put $45 a page, and I know that there are illustrators that charge less than that. I didn't want to quote here the low end of like $10 a page because I want to get that quality. I wouldn't recommend spending less than $45 an illustrated page. So kind of the low end, about $1,200. 120 is kind of the mid-range, but there's certainly room to go between 45 and 120. But I've seen people spend as much as $15,000 or more for illustrating their book. I'm just going to do the $65. So if you've got a $2,000 budget or $1,800, you can still get a really beautiful book. Cover design, you can go from anywhere from $100 to $500. So I typically budget for the $250 in the middle. Design and formatting, I don't want to skip on the professional formatting. Make the cover really pop with some beautiful fonts and colors, and the inner side of the book, having nice fonts, doing nice things with the arrangement of the book, it goes such a long way. Don't skip it. My graphic designer charges $150, so that's what I'm going to budget for. I know that there are others who charge like $1,000 or more. If you want to budget for coaching and project management, I do provide that as an extra service, like one-on-one coaching and marshaling your book through the whole process. So it can be anywhere from $100 a month for a few months, or could be 6 months long, or you could have more hours per month. So anywhere from $300 to $600 if you wanted to add project management services. ISBNs, $300. The copyright, $65, and you don't have anything for the Library of Congress control number. The CIP block, $75. If you wanted to do a coloring book, it's usually $15 a page times however many pages that you're going to create. And that could be coloring pages, activity pages, so it ends up being $360 if you're doing like a 24-page book. T-shirts, plushes, these are things I left there just to get you thinking. But and you can think about other companion products you might want to build off of and start looking at what the associated costs would be for that, and put that into your spreadsheet as well. Stickers, magnets, yes, yes. All of that goes into the promotional area for video read aloud and trailers. Trailer might be 60 and the read aloud is 80 or vice versa. So I would budget that. Promotional items probably go with the 250 and in between. But if you know that you need a lot of promotional stuff, you're going to do a lot of events, you're going to need to buy tables and other things, that you might want to budget on the higher side. If you want to create logos or branding for your website, or you need to do website development, design, hosting, you're going to want to also include in your budget as well. Getting a logo, a couple $100 would probably be more than enough to get logo and branding. Domain registration, 60. Website hosting, 120 for the year is probably a good budget for that. And if you need design services, I really focus a lot on trying to keep it simple and use sites like Wix. Because you're just starting out, the last thing you need to be doing is spending $1,000 or $1,200 on a website design. You can use Wix as a free way of setting up your website. You can hire somebody to configure Wix for you. Don't budget more than $500. I prefer to do it for, to not budget anything and just maybe get some additional banners created and things like that for your website. Maybe $250 to get some graphic design help or something. If you are going with print on demand, you're not putting money out of your own pocket to do the printing. Offset printing, going to China or a US-based printer and doing offset printing, pricing will depend on the size of your book, how many pages, is it a chapter book, is it a picture book, is it black and white, is it color, the thickness of the pages. 8.5 by 8.5, 32-page book is a pretty standard. And of course, it's nothing for print on demand. However, you also you won't make as much on print on demand as you will if you are printing yourself. So if you're actually going to an offset printer and you're printing a couple thousand copies, you might be able to get that book for $2 or $3 for a hardcover. And if you're selling that book for $14, then Amazon will take some, but you've got more of a profit left than if you were going to use print on demand. You might make a few dollars of royalties from print on demand, where you have the opportunity to make more if you're printing in higher volume. The problem from my perspective is that there's also the headache of investing upfront or running a Kickstarter to raise the funds for printing. And then also, where are you going to store them? And then are you going to be the one that's going to have to go fulfill the orders? Are you going to send boxes to Amazon and then Amazon fulfills it? So there's a headache and some management around that you need to be more aware of. We'll go through a lot of that as we get further along in the course. I'm not filling in anything for printing. Amazon ads, Facebook ads, things like that. It would be helpful to have an ad budget. So I put these here, and I would say having like a $500 budget for advertising, and then see how that goes, at least so that you can help index your book on special keywords that you need. So now if I'm totaling all this up, low end, a couple $1,000 if you're doing, low end budget. Mid-range is around 6,000. So I guess where mine came in is not out of the question. And then high end is $21,000 or more to produce your children's book. There are ways to keep your costs lower. You can negotiate your contract with your illustrator. If you've got an illustrator that you love and they're charging a lot more money than you think you can afford, but you really, really want to work with this illustrator, you can go and say, hey, what can we do to take your $100 per page down to my budget, which is X per page? And maybe that would be less illustrations, less detail in the illustrations. It could be, fewer characters or less busy backgrounds. Like, there are lots of factors that go into the cost of your illustration. A budget of $5,000, then you're in really good shape. If it's $2,000 budget, I would say that's realistic on the low end. If you come to me with a $1,000 budget, I could probably still help you get something done, but not without sacrificing. How do you feel about your budget and your what you expected to spend? Imagine the whole picture so that it's not a surprise as you go, like, oh, I didn't know I was going to need ad money to spend, or I didn't know I was going to need a promotion. Totally left that out of the budget, just so that you can see the big picture. Knowing your numbers is an important thing. You need to know what you spent. You need to know what your profit margins are going to be, and offset printer for your hardcovers may be a perfect option. Know enough about the programs that Amazon has, or Ingram Spark, or other places that you're going to sell your books. See what kind of ROI are you going to get? How are you going to get your money back? How long is it? Obviously, the more you spend and the less profit you're making on those books, the longer it's going to take to get that money back. Ad spend even shrinks your profit more, right? Because you're spending money on ads. So we talked about creating your press kit and getting out there and connecting to people and free publicity. You can make those connections, collaborate with people, reach out to the media and get free publicity for your book and drive traffic that way, then it's that much more of a return on your investment that if you're not paying for all of that attention for yourself and your book. And it's not uncommon to spend $10,000 on a book. It really isn't. And that's one of the reasons why I put this group together, is because I wanted to help people not have to spend so much money coming up to speed, and do that hand holding to help them and match them with resources that are high value but not as expensive as maybe what you would pay otherwise. Avoiding pitfalls and mistakes can save so much money. I think it's so important to try to help others get through this process as efficiently and with as little landmines as possible, and to save money and to make your journey happen more quickly, so that you're not in this for 2 years and feeling like you're going to give up halfway through.